Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. Listen, I know that you might be going through something this evening. I know you might be looking for leaders. You might be looking for a voice. You might be looking for positive things happening in our community. Well, I've got Henry Mcdavid with me tonight, and we're going to dive into that type of journey. Henry, where are you from?
Man, you know what? Grew up in a small little town about 80 miles west of Chicago called DeKalb. What happened is my mother wanted us to escape life in Chicago. And so we moved to this little place thinking that it would be safer. Well, I should say she moved thinking that it would provide better opportunities. So we moved to, she moved to DeKalb, and I grew up there all of my teenage years. You know, I grew up there, and it's just interesting, man, that we got 80 miles away, you know, we in what's considered a better place. And I was just thinking about how when I was maybe 8, my younger brother might have been 2, how we never knew that my babysitter was the biggest dope dealer in the block until one day, man, I went and I knocked on my babysitter's door because I was looking out the window and I was seeing a ice cream truck pull up, and then I seen a few more squad cars, and then I seen all these police outside. And the way our housing was set up, we were on the bottom floor, but you know, housing there was different levels, but I could see it right out front. So I went to knock on the door to tell my babysitter, hey, I think something's happening in the neighborhood. And she was with her boyfriend doing what her and her boyfriend do. She told me to shut up and go to the front. So I went to the front, man, and minutes later, the police bust the door in, snatched me and my brother up, went straight to the back, bust their door in, took my babysitter and her boyfriend, moved the dresser back. I seen more money and more dope than I ever seen in my life at like 8 years old.
Wow.
And we just didn't know, man. So we moved away to try to escape. But you know, certain things, man, especially in our community, it's hard to escape no matter where you go to. So, you know, that's a vivid memory of childhood, man.
Would you say that affected the context of life for you?
Absolutely.
Did it affect the way that you thought about what should be happening in communities, what should be happening in families? Did it affect you that way?
Absolutely, man. It was interesting because a few weeks prior, I had actually found, now mind you, I'm an 80s baby, so I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 82, so this is roughly around 1990, 1989 when this is happening, maybe 91. And I remember finding a small little bag of some white powdery substance and taking it to my mother and saying, look what I found on the playground. And she called the police because she like, man, it's dope on the playground. And I remember the police showing up, and the police, when they showed up, they threatened to arrest my mother for having possession of an illegal drug. And she's like, well, I called you because it's on the playground. And my baby found it. What are you going to do about it? And the only thing they did was threaten to arrest my mother. So 2 things happened from that situation. Number one, it gave me a negative view of the police because we're calling you for help. And here you are showing up to arrest the people that's calling you for help. Like my mother's innocent in this situation. But number 2, it let me know that there's many ways to get money as a child, but I didn't want to go out like he went out. And watching my babysitter's boyfriend get taken out in handcuffs, that just wasn't something I wanted to do, man. So I knew there was ways to get it, but I knew selling drugs wasn't going to be it, you know?
Absolutely. What was your relationship like with your parents? Was your father there?
My parents got divorced when I was like 6. So my father wasn't like deadbeat. But he also didn't get the A+ card either. You know what I mean? My father had went back to the city, and you know, I got, you know, a few stepbrothers and maybe potentially stepsisters. I don't know everybody, but I know at least 2 or 3 of them. I think one just passed recently. I went to his funeral. So I had some others. You know, my father remarried a few times. He's also a preacher though, and that kind of played a role in things. But you know, me and my mother always, and I still got a good relationship with my father. It's not to knock my father. I understand what he went through. You know, just being in the streets of Chicago, being young, doing the things, you know, people do. And I always had a close relationship with my mother as well. So I can't complain. You know, my mother did the best she could do. She tried to protect us as much as possible. She looked out for us. So, you know, kudos to both of my parents. I'm one of those people that's like, now that I'm older, I can see with what they tried to do, and I can pick up the torch and run with it in the areas I think that they could have did better in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's a great point, because that's what we should be doing. We should be looking at the past generation, analyzing their potential shortcomings, looking at their journey as a way of making our lives better, making our lives more effective, making our journey to success more streamlined. And in a sense, that's what we're doing right here on this show. We're talking about our stories, our life stories, so that somebody could listen, watch, and gain and have a positive impact on their course. And so, I want to talk a little bit about, were you the man of the house in that moment when it was just you and your mother and your siblings? Were you supposed to be the man of the house at that time?
You know what? It's funny how that question is phrased, because what ended up happening to my mother had a good job. She was a registered nurse, so she was making decent money, but a couple things had happened. Just the freak of nature accident happened where some chemicals in the hospital mixed, and apparently she ended up inhaling the vapors from these chemicals, and it ended up like paralyzing her throat.
Wow.
And so all of that paralyzing of her throat caused all of these different illnesses and different things to come on. So I wasn't like the man of the house, like in a sense of, my mother put me out because my father wasn't there. She put me up front, but I kind of had to help out because my mother ended up getting sick. And prior to that, my mother had been in a few like a really bad car accident. So like one of my vivid memories as a child, like I remember going to the hospital on a few different occasions, and the doctors telling me like, listen, your mother's not going to make it, so you got to prepare for X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And just having the doctors tell you that while she's still alive, you like, man, like as a child, it's pretty traumatic. You know what I mean? But
right.
All praises due to the Most High. My mother's still here, so doctors don't always know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. And definitely want to have a moment of respect for your mother and her resilience. I watched the movie Coming to America 2 recently, and there was a portion of the movie in the beginning where the son, he had to go out into the field, and he had to find a way to get the whiskers off the lion, obviously without losing his own life,
right,
as a rite of passage. Do you feel that these experiences that you were talking about was symbolically like you're having to go out into the field and take the whiskers off of the lion without losing your life?
You know what? Yes, to a degree. Now, I give you this positive of growing up. Even though my father wasn't around much, there were other Black men in my community. In particular, about 4 or 5 I can name that they didn't, they did everything that they could do to try to keep me and my friends on the right path, right? So they started a basketball camp for us. They got us in like AAU. They took us everywhere. They did everything for us, man. So like at the time as a youth, I didn't really understand some of the stuff because like I got a basketball coach. If he's watching this, he'll probably still on me to this day, right? But the way he coached, like you probably couldn't do that in 2021. The world too sensitive. But back then, to keep us in line, because mind you, we talking young boys that's gonna be gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Like the streets is the other option. And the way they coached us, the way they raised us was like, you make a mistake, you might get stolen in the chest. Man up, go make the layup. Man up, go take that pick. Don't let nobody push you. Get back up. Like they would set us up and tell us, nah, you know what? We're going to go do. I remember we had a basketball trip to Cabrini Green, right? And we had to play the Cabrini Green team at Cabrini Green in the height of Cabrini Green being what you see in the movies. Right. And them telling us, look, you can't be no punk. You got to go in there and hoop. I don't care where you at, what they saying, what's going on. You got to go in there and hoop and play your heart out. We ended up beating them. We got out there quick. Don't let me lie to you. We got out that jam quick. Right. But having those men around now that I'm older, definitely they will land for us an example of what manhood should look like and could look like. So even though we still stayed into nonsense, when I got older and looked back, I definitely appreciate it, man, because if I didn't have those men in my life, ain't no telling where I don't even know if I would be alive at this time. You know what I mean? So kudos to those men for taking us in and mentoring us and just doing. And I'm still cool with them to this day. Like they whole families, like we like family. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
A lot of honor goes into you pointing out these men who are able to understand that while you might have been rough around the edges, or you might have been, misbehaving from time to time, that so many of us are born with trauma.
Yeah.
The trauma is expressing itself through our actions. The trauma is raising up out of us. If you've ever seen an equalizer, the way the different elements of the record are just jumping.
Right.
We have different traumas and different experiences that are jumping out of us. And thank the universe for all the men who know, hey, I got a gem right here. I've got a diamond right here. I need to grab him. I need to hold on to him, and I need to polish him up.
Yes, sir.
A lot of the time it takes a man to raise a young man. It takes a man to assist a young lady into adulthood as well. We need men. We need men who know how to grab somebody else, by the shoulders, grab somebody else, however you need to grab them, grab their attention, grab their spirit, grab their soul, and impact their positive turn into a successful life. Now, I want to talk about what some of those men taught you. What was it that they taught you? And you can name them. And let's pay respect. Let's pay respect to them because they deserve it. And let's see if we can pass on some of that wisdom to our viewers out there. Go ahead.
Well, these men taught us, they gave us mental toughness. Like a lot of the things that I use nowadays in business, I got from just that type of system. They taught us mental toughness. They taught us to not be a quitter. So one thing about me, in my business potency, one of the things that makes me so attractive to people in the modern day about business is my track record is impeccable, right? Like we'll get to it later on when you ask those questions, but like just fast forwarding from what they taught me, like I joined the nation in like about 18 years ago, so maybe 19, and my track record going through the community, being there for our people, doing things because they instilled in me at a young age, never quit. If you love somebody, love is an action word, not an emotion. If you love somebody, show it by your actions. You can tell somebody I love you, but even better is show it by your actions, So these men, man, there's so many lessons that they put into us, man. But that mental toughness, that tenacity, that grit, that quitting is not an option. Every time we wanted to quit, my coach, man, Jerry Wright, he was still on me, right? Every time we made certain mistakes or we got weak, if one of us did, it was one time I remember, man, we was in practice and somebody in practice didn't want to run laps. So we had to run suicides the whole time until that person made their laps. So then the lesson we ended up learning is, one, as a team, stick together, like stand by your people. But number two, for our guy that didn't want to run laps, we're like, we're going to see you after practice. Because if we got to suffer, you going to suffer. You know what I mean? But it's the camaraderie, the bonding, going through those struggles together, not being scared to face struggle, not being scared to go through something, not being fearful of anything. Because I felt like, well, once he's stolen us, there's nothing else you can do to me. Because I know I can't whoop him, right? But I don't know if I can whoop you or not. So I'm willing to take my chances with you because I know I can't whoop him. And that's a beautiful lesson, not just in a physical fight, but like, fighting for things that you want in life, fighting to get to the next level, fighting for what matters to you, like fighting for the things that are valuable to you. So, man, you can't replace those type of lessons as a child, man. Like those lessons are invaluable.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the difference between individualism, the ego. I am a macho man. I am an island. The difference between that and unity. Together we are strong. Together we are impressive. Together we are effective. Talk about the difference as we consider masculinity and manhood. Talk about the difference between ego and unity.
Man, it's funny, man. Ego is such a deceptive thing. I think I heard Jay-Z talking about this. Jay-Z was talking about the fact that when you come from the bottom, you don't really have anything. And so the only thing you really have is your ego. So your ego paints this false reality around you. Like, and it's how we treat each other. Like, man, brother, what you looking at? You mean mugging me? Like a brother could just be looking. You know what I mean? Like he's not even thinking about you, but he's looking in your direction. And because all we have is our ego, is so frail. And ego, as opposed to unity, see, ego really comes when you're a broke person and not broke financially, but when we've been broken. And like you mentioned in the beginning, all of us grow up with these traumas. So the ego, and especially in Black men, I mean, it's there in sisters too, but I can't really speak from women's perspective as much as my own. And for Black men, like, our ego pushes us to do things that we know is wrong. Like when I was younger, it was stuff I knew was wrong, but my ego was like, man, you got to do it because I want to be cool. I want to be popular. I want to fit in. But now when you're talking about unity, see, unity, some of our people as a whole, and as a spectrum, we understand unity, right? And we need to understand, Student Minister Nuri said that unity and uniformity are not the same thing. He said uniformity is when you go to McDonald's, everybody has on the same uniform. They make burgers the same way. They flip fries the same way. They do everything the same way, the same manner for the same result. But when you go to Burger King, it's the same thing. They're both burger places. They're unified as burger places or as fast food restaurants, but they're not in uniformity. And part of our problem with the ego is we think unity and uniformity is one and the same. Like, if you don't do things the way I want them done, the way I see fit that it should be done, we can't be unified. But that's not true. That's uniformity. Unity means that we may do things differently, a different way at a different time for the same result. That's unity. And so we have to let the ego go into thinking, well, my religion is better, or my philosophy is better, or my school of thought is better, or what the way I have is better than what you have. If you're doing 3 + 4 to get to 7, I'm doing 5 + 2 to get to 7. Another brother's doing 9 - 2 to get to 7. We all working to get to 7. We just have different formulas that we're putting together in different methodologies to arrive at 7, but we're all trying to arrive at 7. And so we got to overcome the ego that tells us that the only way we can unify is to do it my way. Now, that's not true. There's billions of us on the planet, right? There's billions of us. There's got to be some type of differentiating ways to go about doing things. God didn't make the universe one way. Some bugs are big, some are small. Some animals roar, some animals crawl. Some, you know what I mean? Like, you can't have all this variety exist in the universe and then think to yourself, my way is the only way. That makes you foolish, and the ego will fool you into thinking that the only way to get something done, the only way to achieve a goal is to go your way, but that's ego.
That's right.
But unity is what we need today.
This moment right here is a victory for our communities. When we survey and we look around and we understand that the ego is there, but we don't assassinate the ego. We say the ego, which also sounds like eagle, like the bird. Your ego is that trajectory in you that says, hey, I'm going somewhere. That's a positive thing. But what you raise awareness about tonight, Henry, is that we're all going somewhere.
Right.
Realize that we're all wanting to move up and forward. Everybody wants to do that. Don't be so overtaken by the life that you've lived or the cards that you've been dealt that you don't realize that the person next to you, in front of you, and behind you is also trying to move up and forward. Because when you understand that, everybody can have an ego. It's healthy, and we can unite. When your ego is in check, then we can unite. Now, when we unite under an understanding of everybody having a healthy ego, now our entire community lifts.
Absolutely.
Not just one. The whole community can lift when we have the ego in the proper perspective. It's okay to have fire in your belly. It's okay to have fire under your heels, that you want to jump high. You want to transcend what your forefathers did. That's a positive thing. But it's even better when you do it with your brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
We got some comments in the building. Rose Q. Hensley says, I'm here. Ani Riley says, yes, we are. Dwayne Harris says, yes, sir. And Ani King Riley says, unity is what we need today.
See that.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's connect these two monuments. The ego is a precipitating factor for unity. Can we do that? The ego is a precipitating factor for unity. Because guess what? If I'm out here building a new building called Positive Community, and you say, hey, I'm ready to come to the field with you and work, and you get here and you don't know how to lay bricks, I'm going to send you back to the showers, man. You got to go back and get you some more tools.
Right.
We want people on the field of life with their tools on their tool belt. We want you to know how to hit the nail on the head. We want you to know how to drive a screw. We want you to know how to lay a brick.
Absolutely.
Now, talk to me about what you desired to become as you went into high school. Who did you think that you were going to become, and what plans did you have?
Man, you know what? It's funny because out of all that, I only had two options, like most young black men. My two options was I'm either going to the NBA because I was a cold hooper,
okay,
or I'm about to get a rap career, right?
Okay. Oh, hold on, no. We're not just gonna breeze past this, man. We gotta know what was your position? What were your points per game? What basketball players did you look?
Look, I'm gonna tell you what happened to me, right?
Yeah.
I had a real life reality check.
Okay.
I thought I was going to the league, right? Because you know, you can be the coldest person like in your state.
Right.
But that don't make you like there's 50 states, right? You can be the coldest person in your region, but that don't mean you cold. Like there's hoopers, there's levels to hooping, right?
Right.
I'm gonna tell you this story. I played in the UIC tournament in Chicago, right? And at the time when I was in high school, I was an 8th grader going into my freshman year. The senior graduating class was Kevin Garnett and Ronnie Fields. They were the number 1 and number 2. Kevin Garnett was the number 2 player in the country. Ronnie Fields was the number 1 player in the country. He had just gotten an accident. And that was like the first year and one came out. And they were on team and one, right? Then I had my squad. We just us, right?
Right, yep.
My center was like 6'4". My man Rico. Shout out to my man Rick. Our center was like 6'4". Their point guard was like 6'6", right? And I realized that game, there's levels to basketball. Like the tip-off happened. My man KG from the free throw line banged us. I'm like, yo, this is a different level of basketball. There was absolutely nothing that could be done for me to their part. Like when I got to the bench, that was the first time in my basketball career I was happy to be on the bench. Like, yo, these dudes are monsters. Like, if that's what the NBA is like, I don't need that stress in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, these dudes are some killers on the court. So, you know, you learn that lesson. I was like, so at that time, I was like, well, maybe if I get taller, I get faster, I get stronger. Because they were already going. Kevin Garnett was on his way to the NBA. He was already predicted to be the number 1 pick in the NBA. And Ronnie Fields was said to be better than him before the car accident. So I'm like, all right, these two dudes are going to the NBA and they're seniors. I got 4 years to get it right. So in my mind, there was a slight window, but not too much, but a slight window I might be able to do it. But then I stopped growing. I've been like 5'8". For like
you know
forever.
what? I wanted to say, isn't it interesting how we thought, because I'm with you on this, we thought that we could get taller if we just focus. If you just focus, you'll get as tall as everybody. I mean, we really, you know, the mind is a powerful thing, man. But okay, so you never became 6'11", and you realized what we all got to realize at some point, which is that you are like a drop of water in the sea.
Right.
There's so many levels to humanity, you know, that it gets to the point where you just have to respect. You just got to respect the people, man. You know, there are places where you can go where people are just going to be amazing, and then you bring it home and you realize everybody's amazing, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's amazing. Everybody's amazing in their own way. Some people are amazing in obvious ways, right? But it becomes about respect for humanity and you being humble, doing the very best that you can, you know, and just having an attitude of growth. You know, that's what it comes down to. Because I'll tell you something. When I went to college, I had a similar experience. You know, I met people who were brilliant, you know, their thoughts, their endeavors. Some of them were already running businesses. That for me was the moment where I realized how big the world really was. You know, there are some phenomenal people out there, and it's very important that we continue to work on ourselves. So, okay, so we got through the basketball portion, but you wanted to be a rapper. What was your rap name?
Man, back then, what was my? I don't even remember, man. It might have been, you know, I don't know, man. I had a bunch of nicknames because I was always into something.
Yeah, Lil something.
Probably Lil, you know,
Lil Henry. Lil Henry.
They called me like Hennessy or something like that back
then. Okay,
you know,
all right.
Heno or something like that. I don't know. But you know, man, like, because the thing was, basketball, you need to be bigger, stronger, faster, taller. Rapping, I just gotta outthink you. I just gotta be able, and I was nice with the freestyle. And like we would go to like House of Blues in Chicago, and like I'll battle everybody and kill them. And like I was nice. Like don't get it wrong. Like there's video footage. Like I was nice, but the thing was I didn't necessarily at that time understand anything about business, right? Like that was one of those moments looking back where I was like, man, if I could at least had a team, maybe I could have did something, right? With that rapping career. But I just got high and freestyle with my friends, right? So that if you in your front room and you never get off the couch, you can't go nowhere. And that was a lesson to be learned. Like I tell the young boys today, like, man, listen, if you got a dream and you want to chase it, you got to actually get up and chase it. Like you can't say you got a dream and sit on the couch. You can't say you got a dream, but you're not out making connections, talking to people, moving around, especially with social media and technology. Like you got to get out there and go get it. And, you know, we didn't have social media back then. We didn't have, you know, there wasn't no Facebook. We couldn't jump on, you know, whatever. So we had to, you know, for me, I was like, well, it just is what it is. You know, I didn't have the drive to get up and go do anything new because it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? So that's how I went down. Now, social media and technology, you got to get out there. And
did you ever develop an understanding of work ethic, and when did that happen?
Way in the future. So, like, I got a book that I wrote. Right. So in my book,
what's the name of it?
Okay, you know, let me snatch this. I got a copy in my store. I keep selling out. It's called Free Jewels, right? And I wrote this book a few years ago, but I just had it published recently with all the business coaching stuff that I do. But I get to that. But I realized that when I was writing my book, I went and looked back at my life. Like, how did I get to this point? Because now I'm at this point where I'm like, I'm booming, you know, finding success in all these different areas. And I'm like, oh, it's great. But looking back, man, I probably was fired from like 25 jobs, right? And at least 25 that I could count. And I kept going through this cycle, right? I got married early. I got married at like 20, my anniversary. I got married on August 5th. And my birthday's like August 3rd. So my birthday happened 2 days later. I got married. And still married to this day. So at least I survived that, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful woman, man. She keep my business alive. But what happened is, as I look back on my life, I started realizing, dang, I've been fired from 25 jobs. So I started analyzing, what is it? Is it that I'm not a hard worker? Like, what is it about these jobs? But so I went to school, but I probably dropped out of college. When I tried to go to college and I dropped out like freshman year, right? Because it just wasn't for me. Like I wasn't feeling it. I was too busy partying, hanging out. You know, I was still trying to, you know, live that type of life. So because I was into all of that, man, I would get jobs and the job just didn't move me. Even as I matured and I got out of, you know, I stopped all this, the hanging out. I left that whole life alone at like 19. Like I left the streets completely, you know, out of nothing, no drinking, no hanging out, no smoking, none of that stuff. At 19, I joined the nation. So I was like, okay, I got some clarity now in my life. I got some spiritual guidance, but I would still get jobs and I just couldn't keep these jobs, man. And like most of the jobs I hated, you know, talking on the phone or working at Walmart, working at Lowe's, you know, stocking shelves. But I didn't have no passion for these jobs. So I would get there and I knew my family needed to eat, but I kept running into situation after situation where I was like, man, this job ain't for me. Like, and it would show on my work ethic. And, you know, sooner or later I get fired, whether I was coming in late, whether I was just lazy, whether I was slacking. And like, it was a certain time period in my life, I was like, man, maybe I'm just not, you know, I'm not that type of person. Like maybe it's me, you know what I'm saying? Like, it can't be everybody else. I keep getting fired.
Well, right? what I'm getting out of it is maybe it was you telling yourself, this is not my resting place. This is not even a regiment that I want to get used to for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months.
And man,
this is not moving my spirit. This ain't it, as they say. This ain't it.
I said in my book, man, I said that the universe gave me the same message 25 times in a row and I ignored it. You know what I mean? Like it took me 25 times getting the same message for me to be like, oh, wait a second. Maybe I'm supposed to be my own boss. Maybe I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. Maybe I should be running my own operations, because now if I slack off, it's on me, right? But then if I slack off, I can always blame the boss. So I wrote about that in my book, man. Like the universe sent me message after message after message, and I just kept ignoring the books, man. I just kept ignoring them. That's all.
Right. You know, there are those of us. You might be one of them. I might be one of them. who respond best under pressure. That's what we do. We respond best when our backs are against the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Henry Mcdavid. This man he's achieved quite some things. We're going to talk more about those after this brief message. One thing that I don't want you guys to do is go anywhere. Sit right there. We'll be right back. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network, Inc., and our viewership. And we're back. Henry, how you feeling out there?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I'm loving the energy of the show, man. This was meant to be, brother. Let me just take time to say thank you so much for the opportunity. And man, I love the platform, brother. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy that you stopped by here today. Now, you mentioned that the nation was something that helped you to expand in terms of structure, regimenting your life, and really just maturing. Can you talk about the influence from your own perspective that the nation had on you?
Absolutely, man. You know, growing up without my father really being present, and even when he was present, there was a lot of things I just didn't learn. But man, coming into the nation, that was like my first time being around men, and not only being around like men who did not make excuses. So for me, like it was a quick learning curve. It was so many things. Like I remember I came to the mosque one time and my hair wasn't lined up properly, right? Like I was bogus. And the brother stopped me at the door like, where the hell you think you going? I'm like, to class. He's like, brother, you represent something bigger than yourself. You can't come around here looking like that. And like, he dug into me for like 15 minutes straight about my lining. And at the time, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. But I loved it because that lesson that was taught, you'll never catch me without a lining again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll never catch me not crispy. So the nation has this structure, man, that builds up men as long as you stay in the process. It's fire. It's pretty fiery. You gotta be a G about yours. But as long as you stay in the process and you don't quit, which remember when I said earlier, the men that were in my life put into me to not be a quitter. So when I got to this process, and it felt like at first, because I was young, it was, boom, boom, and it was jamming me up. But every jam session was really making me better. So now in the present time, I'm so appreciative of what these other men sacrificed and gave me from their own personal life, because the lessons I missed as a child with my father being absent, I really feel like these men under Minister Farrakhan gave me that structure in my life to be a G. You know what I mean? In all righteous terms, like today, the me today, like if you would have showed me the me today 15, 20 years ago, I'd never believe you. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to make that from this? You know, so I'm thankful to those brothers, man. Absolutely.
What do you say to young men or young women who might not subscribe to the particular faith, but they still need a sense of direction and wisdom from you tonight? What do you say to the youth in general?
Well, you know, in the modern day, man, it's funny because I own a school that's killing the game right now, right? And one of the number one requests that, in particular, single mothers make when they call us up, or they send us emails, they go to the website, whatever, they want to know, can you mentor my son? And I'm like, you know, me personally, I can't mentor 100 children individually. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we have the school. But it's just interesting to me because they see in me, and I've heard it, and not on the arrogant side, but I've heard it from mothers like, you are an example of what I want my son to be. And so it's not about, for me, the process I used was the nation, but I wouldn't tell everybody you have to go through the nation. But what I would say is you got to find men who are willing to help make you a man. If you're a man, or if you're a woman, you got to find women who are willing to make you a woman, and they won't let you have a low standard. Like they raise your standards. You got to have mentors. Like today, part of what makes me successful, all of my mentors are all way more successful than me. I don't have mentors that are none on the same level as me. All my mentors are multi-millionaires. One is nearly a billionaire. They have notoriety across the country. Like the things I'm striving for and trying to achieve, they've already got it. And so you got to be willing to be a student and go in the classroom with somebody that can make you better, or go through a process or organization, or join on the people that can make you better.
Absolutely.
You got to be a man about it. Somebody tell you something about yourself that is a weakness, don't jump down their throat. Oh, what do you mean? Yeah, no, listen. And then if it's true, change it. If it's not true, prove them wrong. You know what I mean? But go through that process. That process is everything.
That's right. We need life systems. See, in order to take care of yourself, you have to have a lifestyle where the end result is that you're taken care of. And then once you get sufficient, once you get proficient and efficient at that life system, the end result is that you'll be able to take care of yourself and others. See, the way that you eat, the way that you take care of your hair, the way that you take care of your skin, which is arguably the largest organ that you have available to yourself, the way that you cleanse your body, cleanse your mind, and then the diet that you give to your community with the words that come out of your mouth, the diet that you give to the community with the actions that you exude, all these things take a process. You don't just hop out of bed and put on a suit like they did in Men in Black and zip yourself up and say, this is me for the day.
Right.
And so no matter what type of life you subscribe to, you've got to find a life system. You've got to find a regiment. You know, there are lists out there, 10 habits of successful people, the lifestyles of happy people. We've got to find life systems. You just can't be somebody out here winging it every day.
Right.
That's not the way that our great grandparents did it. They didn't get great for no reason. That's not the way our grandparents did it. They didn't get grand for no reason. We have to figure out a life system that's going to allow us to survive and become 50 years old someday. We live in a world where children are dying before the parents.
Absolutely.
Anybody else notice that? Am I the only person who's noticed that?
Absolutely.
We have children who are dying before their parents. That means that we are fundamentally missing out on several of the key ingredients of success as a people. We've got to get out of our own way. Dwayne X. Harris says people don't like to be corrected. We've got to stop that. Get corrected. Go somewhere and get correction.
Facts.
Go somewhere and get correction, wherever the correction may be. If it's going to positively impact your health, if it's going to positively impact your mind and your heart and your soul, go and get correction. Whether it be at a mosque, a masjid, or a church, a schoolhouse, your daddy's house, your cousin's house, your mama's house, your grandma, go get some correction.
Absolutely.
Don't run away from correction. Now, you started a school.
Yes, sir.
What's the name of the school?
So the name of our school is KIKIFERS. Say it with me, right? KIKIFERS.
KIKIFERS.
Entrepreneurial Academy.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. And what was that process like?
Man, you know what? It's really been a blessing. We didn't intend, me and my wife were serial entrepreneurs, right? We own businesses. We own, we own several successful businesses. So we're business coaches as well. We do consulting, all that, right? And that's for me, that's like my passion in life. I love working with entrepreneurs. I love coaching. I love it, right? Long story short, my beauty supply, actually the store I'm in right now, my beauty supply store, upstairs, we got, I don't know how many, maybe 1,000, probably more square feet. That right now it's a lounge, it's a event lounge, but we just had all this open space and we wasn't doing nothing with it. And we thought about what could we do in the daytime. We only were getting rentals on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what can we do in the daytime to make money from 8 to 5? We thought about doing a school, but school was too expensive. We never really could figure it out. Long story short, me and my wife at the same time both came up with this idea of being able to start a school with no teachers, right? Once we got the concept to have a school with no teachers, we was like, that's cool, but we need more to add on. So then we're like, well, we're entrepreneurs. Let's force if you want to come to our school as a child, you got to start a small business. So entrepreneurship became the theme of the school. You got to start a small business, and that business has to generate revenue. Then on top of that, you also have to publish a minimum of 1 book a year. So everybody's a published author. So everybody's a published author and a business owner. And then we just started enriching the curriculum, right? So to the point now in 2021, we just got like $1 million in property for the school, for our new campus. We have a partnership with A. Donahue Baker, who is worth hundreds of millions. I don't know how much, but he just rolled out last month a Black-owned fintech bank called Money Ave Bank. So make sure y'all check out Money Ave Bank, where you can get an account and he helps you to build generational wealth. And he was actually going to choose the LeBron James I Can School, but when he heard about us and we connected, he actually dropped that and partnered with us. So that's like amazing. And our school is national. We have students right now. We're located in Rockford. Our home base is in Rockford, Illinois, but we have students, of course, Chicago, but Georgia, Texas, Michigan, Wisconsin, of course, Illinois, and we're expanding, right? Okay. We just got like another 7 students today. And the goal is to have thousands of students across the country into entrepreneurship, teaching them everything from credit, business credit, real estate, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, entrepreneur mind state, everything across the board that we can think of. The goal is to teach them all these things and start producing from our ranks children. That our goal in the next 2 semesters is to produce our first 6-figure earner of students, and within the next 3 to 4 years to be able to produce a 7-figure student right in the school while they're in school. So that's what we're trying to take entrepreneurship to with our school.
This is absolutely phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to blow the chat up. Blow the chat up. Put a number 1 in the chat if you're hearing what Henry Mcdavid is saying. Put the fire emojis into the chat if you're hearing what Henry Mcdavid is saying. How would our communities change if we supported and taught our young people how to start a business and then encourage them to publish 1 book a year? How would our communities change if we show some respect to Henry Mcdavid and his wife? How would our communities change if we show some respect to Henry Mcdavid and his wife? The model that they came up with to occupy empty space that they had in their life. Think about it. Do you have empty space in your life somewhere? How would our communities change if we respected the thought that they went through and the idea that God or the universe put into them to say, we're going to support and we're going to teach. We're going to teach young people how to start a business, and we're going to support them in that. And then we're going to have them to produce 1 book a year. Furthermore, it sounds like as an entrepreneurial academy, your students aren't sitting there doing the traditional academic subjects. They're not necessarily doing English and science and math. Is that correct?
No. It's school, so they have to get their Common Core. So they get English, math, science, social studies, spelling. They have to get their Common Core. But in addition to their Common Core, one thing that I learned about education is the way most public schools across the country educate our babies is backwards, and it doesn't work, right? We're looking at failed educational systems everywhere. Now, in Rockford, the city I'm in, according to Forbes magazine, Rockford has the 3rd worst educational system in America. So here, if you're going after education, it's easy money, right? Because they don't educate our babies properly. But what I learned is the way we have our schools set up, if you educate children, now I forgot to mention in that we do Black History year round. So there's always Black History every week, right? If you teach the children about themselves and you give them pride in being Black, and they have teachers that look like them, and not saying that we only have Black students. Well, we open to anybody, but you know, it's attractive to our own people. But teach them about themselves, then show them how to make money. So I have a student right now in my class from last Wednesday to this Wednesday, he's probably made $1,000 off of book sales, right? Wow. It's giving them a drive to, and he's 13, giving them a drive to excel. Like, so when I talked about picking up the torch and running from where my mother had it, these children, we're showing them how to pick up the torch and run with it from where we're even at currently. Like, I really believe wholeheartedly, and I had this conversation with A. Donahue Baker, that in the next 10 years, we're going to find a child that comes through our ranks of our school that is going to invent some app, some technology, something that's going to make that child a billionaire, right? And I just want to be there to foster that environment, because if we can do that, if we can take control of the economics in our community, a lot of the problems we face in our community, we can change ourselves with unity. But the problem is we don't control the economics, and we don't have a strong grip on our own economics. So because we don't have that economic grip, we lose a lot. But if we could be more like the Asian community, who doesn't vote a lot, they're not too big on religion, they don't do too much outside of their business, but they're the #1 progressive community in America because they're about unity, and especially they're about group economics and group unity and economic unity. That's what we're trying to instill in our children. So if the little seeds pop up all over the country, and you start having business owners that not just like pop-ups, not like a mom and pop shop, we're teaching them to compete. So show them how to compete on the highest level. Now you're going to start having problems. And now we can start, you know, taking full control with that knowledge. And we brought in this year so far about 18 guest speakers, and we brought in powerful guest speakers to the babies. Like, we brought in Antonio Smith Jr. He's nearly a billionaire. He started ATS University. He owns, at the last count, he had 42 streams of income. He's working on 250 by the end of the year. We brought in Professor Devin, who runs BSI in Atlanta, who's responsible for 25% of the Black-owned beauty supply stores in America. We brought in Jessica Martin, a sister who is from our own community, got out of prison, and within 3 years rose herself up to become a CEO and millionaire, right? So we're bringing in people that look like them to impact them. So now they love, like, when we're at school, it's hard to keep them focused on their books because children like, look at my Cash App. I just made a sale. Hey, check out my Facebook. I put this post up. We just sold another 10 books. Oh, I just did a business yesterday. I just made $60 yesterday selling these brownies. Oh, I did. And so, like, they on fire with it, and they're getting their academics, right? And we also, with that, we give them the equivalent in 1 day's worth of work about the equivalent of what public school does in a week, right? And they love it. They run through it. They get it done in 3 or 4 hours. And then they on to the next one having fun. And that's how, in our view of it, that's how you can use education and you know, inject into the education what's good for them. Some of the stuff they don't even know is how good it is for them. Like all of the guest speakers, we brought in guest speakers that is, we don't have no book. Man, we want to publish a book and get like you. Our youngest student is 4. We have a 4-year-old selling books like crazy.
That's 4. Right. That's right.
I mean? So I'm so excited about the school. That's my passion, man. That's my
I hear you. I hear you. And I'm identifying with your victory, your success, and I'm extremely proud of the things that you're saying to me today. You know, a lot of things come to mind when I listen to what you guys have founded out there. The first thing is books are a fundamental building block for people. The power of books hasn't gone anywhere. You know, after somebody asks for your business card, they'll ask, "Where's your book?" That's where that's your first, one of your first entryways to financial transactions is having a book. But this is what I really want to hone in on right now. We've all been through school, falling asleep from time to time, got to get up, go get some water, you know, thinking, wow, what if school was just cooler? What if school was just more intelligent? You know, all puns intended. What if school was a place that was so attractive, so dynamic that I could actually go there and expand into my greater self? And it sounds like you guys thought about exactly that. And you said, you know what? We're going to create an academy that's so robust, so attractive, so inclusive, so empowering that these kids are going to, they're going to devour the subject matter. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, is it working? What are the kids' scores like? What are their scores like? Has your city or town recognized you guys for any sort of high achievement? Is it working?
So we have not had a semester where every student in our school didn't make honor roll. And we've taken in children that have been kicked out of school, and they're telling us these are the, you know, these children can't. Like I got, for example, two examples, right? On one side of it, we have a little boy in my class. I love this little boy. He's one of my favorite students. I love him forever. And his name's Jaden, right? This little boy cannot sit still. He will do cartwheels through the classroom. He'll do flips. He'll run full speed. Like he just got so much energy. But check the flip side out. He's supposed to be in second grade. Academically, though, he's almost through the fourth grade, almost one in the fifth grade academically, right? Because our school is set up that children can knock out 1 or 2 grades a year. So if you start in our school in kindergarten, you should be graduating by 13, 14, 15 if you move slow, right? But that's how the school is developed. Like my daughter is a 5th grader, but she's halfway through the 7th grade academically, almost in her 8th grade work.
Wow.
Right? So you have that connected to the school. So recently, first we ended up getting the 2020 Business of the Year in our city. So that was a great achievement. And we were proud of that. We're like, okay, 2020 Business of the Year, because even me and my wife were entrepreneurs. So for us, that's a great achievement. But even bigger, we just got awarded from the Illinois State, the state representative and the Illinois Black Caucus just gave us an award because we just got our $1 million building, and we're the only Black-owned private school whose status level is recognized by the Illinois State Board of Education, right? So not saying we're the only Black-owned school in Illinois, but we're the only school who went through the paperwork, went through all of the levels to get to the highest level a school can get to as a private school to be recognized. And what that means is this year, we're able to offer scholarships to all of our students, anybody who lives in Illinois. We're able to offer scholarships up to $12,000 on a full ride scholarship for any students who live in Illinois to come to our school through a 501c3 that we partner with. Then in addition to that, for our not international, even though we're working on international as I speak, but for our national students from New York all the way to Cali, for those students right now, we're working on the fundraising effort to be able to offer them scholarships as well. So our virtual students, our in-person students, and even the hybrid students, everybody can come to school on scholarship. And what's happened is, because our school is non-religious, non-denominational, non-political, because it's only entrepreneur-based, everybody can get behind it, right? So I don't personally go out. I have a whole team of people, right? Because, you know, a Black man walking in with a suit and tie on sometimes is a threat, right? But I can send people on my team out, and what's happening is all of the aldermen want a piece of it because it makes them look good, so they want to donate funds. All of the politicians want to donate money from their campaign funds because it makes them look good. All of the church people want to donate money. Everybody, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner. So now we're able to get funding from all these places into a pot to support the babies going to school. And we're literally creating jobs for people in the community. We're changing the community. We're in the building we got is on the worst side of town, but it's changing the neighborhood already. And it's creating so much opportunity in Illinois and abroad. So we're really excited about that, man.
That's right. We are down to the final 1 minute and 30 seconds of the show. Let's normalize a few things with these final seconds. The first thing that we want to normalize is that a Black man walking into your office or your organization with a suit on who's focused is a gift to everybody. An absolute gift. We've got to normalize that. A Black man who walks into your establishment is particularly focused, a suit on of any kind is a gift.
Absolutely.
What would happen if we all decided to focus and realize that if we were elephants and we had majesty that the world had not known, but we were scared to go out of the yard because of the electric wire that was around the fence. And that electric wire was removed. We've got to realize that now it's time to go out there and venture out and be the majestic people that you are. No one swooped in and stopped Henry from starting that school. No one's going to stop you from teaching your child how to write a book and how to start a business. We've got to have the majesty of those elephants and go out there into the world and be bigger. Be bigger. Do bigger things. Be more focused. Be more competitive and create new markets. They're creating a new market. When you look at a 20-year-old and they say, yeah, I've started my own business, you say, when did I start it? And they say 16 years ago. And you got 1,000 or 2,000 peers. Well, that's an entirely new market. You guys are adding a new demographic onto the diaspora of America. And that is Nobel Peace Prize worthy, if you ask me. I got 3 questions for you. You got about 15 seconds to answer them. 15 seconds. The first one, what is survival to you?
Man, survival, man, is a state that we need to survive, but even better than survive, we need to live.
What is success to you?
Success is following your dreams, chasing your dreams, and bringing your dreams to life and never stopping the process of pursuit of those dreams.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness is what God put in you at birth. It's your job to bring it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat. I want to let you know, Henry, that I've listened to your story today. I've been extremely inspired by you. I love how you overcame adversity. We're giving you respect today while you can still receive it. And we're giving you a crown today while you can still receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, Henry Mcdavid, you and your wife, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the love. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for stopping by today, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do, just like you did today, stop by and pick it up.